Welcome to the Maine Senate. My name is Derek Grant. I'm Secretary of the Senate. I also reside here in Augusta. My daughter, who goes to Farrington, was part of the 4th grade class that was supposed to come visit the State House in April. I realized that had to be canceled because of the coronavirus, and I figured I would give a virtual tour of the Senate chamber so all of you could see it by video, and then in hopes when times are better, you will be able to come see the Senate chamber and the rest of the State House in person at some point. It is a great place to check out. A lot of history here, and I'm very honored to be able to work in the Maine Senate, and I'm happy to share this video with you. We are now in the middle of the Senate chamber. Straight ahead is the President's rostrum. That's where the President presides when the Senate is in session. Over on this side of the aisle, there are 17 seats, 10 in the back, 7 in the front. And then over on this side of the aisle is the same 10 in the back, 7 in the front. So if you've done the math, you know there's 17 on one side, 17 on the other, plus the President, that equals 35. The Maine Senate has 35 members who represent every part of the state, and each district they represent has about 38 to 40,000 people. Right here in the center of the Senate chamber is a rug of the state seal. We're really proud to host this piece of artwork in the Maine Senate chamber. As you can see on the state seal, we have a farmer, a sailor, and in the middle is a pine tree with a moose laying on the ground, and the sea waters as well, all things that are very recognizable and prominent here in Maine. The word Maine is spelt out in a banner that's blue, and at the top the word Dirigo is underneath the star. And if you haven't guessed yet what the word Dirigo means, you probably hear it quite a bit here in Maine, and it's a Latin word we're proud to use and we're proud to try to follow. And Dirigo stands for I lead, and Maine is very proud to be a leader as a state. Right now I'm up at the Senate President's rostrum. This is where he conducts the Senate session, and as you can see, he has a view. He gets to look at all 34 members of the Senate as they sit in their seats when we're doing our work. I always liken the President of the Senate to a teacher of a classroom, and if you will, considering, for example, that the senators are the students. And when a senator wants to speak, they have to request to speak, and I'll show you later on the senator's desk how they do that. But it's up to the President to recognize a member when they wish to speak. And down here is the President's gavel. As you can see, the President over the years has missed a few times in hitting where the gavel is supposed to be hit. And that will happen, and it's also not uncommon sometimes for the gavel to break and pieces to fly everywhere. The gavel's used to bang to conclude a vote and to move on to the next item. Just by way of reference, the President currently, his name is Troy Jackson. He represents the northernmost part of the state in the town of Allagash, which is about 6 hours away from Augusta. So it's pretty cool that we have someone from the northernmost point of the state representing the entire state Senate. Okay, so now we're at a senator's desk. One rule in the Maine Senate is that no one aside from the senator is allowed to sit in the chairs. That's an honor that's given exclusively to the senator, and this is their workspace and their desk. And as you can see on a lot of the desks right now, it's pretty clear and open, not much clutter on them. When we are in session, that's a different story. There's usually a lot of papers, a lot of books, laptops, other information that the senators have each day as they do their work. So if you remember, I talked about the President kind of as the teacher up there, and the senators being the students, and that when they want to speak to the rest of the room, I know in a classroom you raise your hand. Here in the Senate, we do things a little bit differently. And over here, you'll notice on these buttons, there's 3 buttons. When a senator wants to speak, that white button that says RTS is what they press. And I'm going to give you some time to guess what RTS might stand for. But when a senator presses that button, it actually pops up at the president's computer that the senator would like to speak, and when the president is ready, they will call on that senator. And if you haven't guessed yet, RTS stands for request to speak. So members press that when they would like to speak and address the whole Senate. Also, you'll notice on their desk with the buttons is a green button that says yay and a red button that says nay. When they're voting, the member presses green if they want to support the bill or the motion, and they press red if they don't want to support it. When they press those buttons, it shows up on the board, which right now is not turned on, but if it were turned on, you'd see the senators' names, and then the light would either turn red or green, depending how they voted by each name. I did want to point out where I work when the Senate is in session. So as you can see, the president is here and my rostrum is right here. This is where I'm at. Gives me quick and easy access to coordinate and communicate with the president as we do our work. It also allows me the opportunity to look at the senators and to watch the flow of the room to make sure that our decorum is being kept and that members have all the papers and all the bills and amendments and documents that they need so that they can do their work in a timely manner on behalf of the people of the state of Maine. One thing I do like to show, especially for all you students of Augusta, is in the background here. I like to look out this window from time to time, and the tree line is, right now it's kind of gray with the trees, but in the fall there's foliage, and it's really beautiful when it's colorful leaves on each tree. And that's called Howard Hill. You've probably heard of Howard Hill. City of Augusta is working with the Kennebec Land Preservation, and it's got some beautiful trails up there. If you ever have a chance to go up, check it out. It's a nice little hike, and it has some beautiful views when you're up there. But it's something I like to look at sometime when the session day is getting long and I'm stuck inside the building. I can look out the window and see the nice views of Howard Hill. I'm going to show you some of the artwork in the Senate chamber, starting off with a picture of a picture. This is John Neptune. He was Lieutenant Governor of the Penobscot tribe. This portrait is actually really rare and unique in that it's painted on wood, and the original copy is down in Washington, D.C. for display purposes. So we have a copy of it here in the Maine Senate and proud to host this copy. Right here we have Sir William Pepperell. He was a commander-in-chief at the siege of Fort Louisbourg in 1745. He was also lieutenant general in 1759. He was born in Kittery, Maine. This portrait I like. It's a little bit different. It's not of an individual specifically, but it's more of the scenery. It's owned by the Maine Senate. It's a picture of Woodland Stream in Greenville, Maine. And as you can see, it's just a nice, calm, serene photo. And really, you could probably go anywhere in Maine and find a spot similar to this that you can enjoy. And it's nice when session days get long to kind of look in the back of the room and just get lost a little bit in the photo. And at times I kind of wish sometimes I was out in those woods with this guy or woman, whoever it is, fishing. But it is a neat photo that we are proud to hold here in the Maine Senate. Next, here we have General Henry Knox. He was a Revolutionary War figure. He was United States Secretary of War under the George Washington administration, I believe. He also was in the Revolutionary War and served with General George Washington. He had a house that's still standing down on the mid-coast, and it's a pretty prominent building. If you ever have a chance to Google it, you should check out General Henry Knox and his house. This is Sir William Phipps. He was born in Woolwich, Maine. He was the first colonial governor of Maine. And he was also the first royal governor of Massachusetts. So he was before Maine was a state, but we have him here on our wall. Next to him is a familiar face, maybe. This is General Joshua Chamberlain. He was born in Brewer, Maine. He was also governor of Maine. He was a Civil War hero and received the Congressional Medal of Honor, and also president of Bowdoin College. He was a prominent figure in Maine. I think and hope over the years you get to learn more about Joshua Chamberlain. He definitely had a unique history and was a strong figure here in the state of Maine. Well, this is Hannibal Hamlin. He was Vice President of the United States under Abraham Lincoln. He was born in Paris Hill, Maine. He was a governor of Maine. He served as Speaker of the House in the Maine legislature. He also served in Congress and in the Senate of the United States. Prominent figure, national figure, and again, pretty neat that he served as Vice President under President Abraham Lincoln. The final portrait I want to show you is of our former president, the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. Definitely a familiar person. I'm sure you've learned quite a bit about him in school, and will continue to learn more about him. We're proud to host this portrait of the president here in the Maine Senate. It is a neat portrait, and one that a lot of people can recognize and really enjoy to see when they come visit here in the Maine Senate. All right, this wall is all the former presidents of the Maine Senate over the years. This is a pretty cool wall, a lot of people, but I do want to point out one section in particular. And this was a very historic moment for the state of Maine. And as you can see right here, the Honorable Beverly Daggett. She was from Augusta. She was the first woman president of the Senate, and she served back in 2002 to 2004. After her, Beth Edmonds of Freeport served as Senate President. And then this honorable member is Libby Mitchell. She was Senate President from 2008 to 2010. And the other historic moment for her was she was the first woman Speaker of the House in Maine. Because of that, she was the first woman in this country in all legislatures to ever serve as Speaker of the House and President of the Senate of Legislature. She's from Vassalboro. She represented Augusta as well. Pretty cool moment for the state during those periods, and some strong women leaders running the state Senate. This is Governor Percival Baxter with his dog Gary. I'm going to show you a little bit more about Governor Baxter and his dog. It's actually an unknown or not very well known feature in the State House. Something very unique that I'll show you that's actually in my office. Stay tuned. All right, as I said, we are now in the Secretary's office. This is my office where I get to do my work. Very honored to serve the Maine Senate in this capacity. And if you'll notice on the wall, there are two portraits of Governor Percival Baxter, similar to the portrait I just showed you. And here he is with his dog Gary. And here he is with his dog Gary. People think it's the same picture, but notice this dog with the white fur and this dog without the white fur. He actually had a couple dogs throughout his lifetime that he called Gary, but when Gary passed away, the next dog he had was called Gary number 2, and so on. So I don't know which number these dogs are, but they are different. Governor Baxter loved to bring his dogs with him to work every day when he came to the State House. And my office used to be part of his staff space when Governor Baxter would come into work. Behind this door here was Governor Baxter's inner office as governor. Oftentimes he would open this door up, he would come out, work with staff in his governor's office staff, and Gary would take a nap out here. When Gary would wake up, Gary would come back to the door, but the governor would be in there in a meeting with the door closed, and Gary would scratch the door. And if you look closely, this is something that not a lot of people get to see, but you can see the scratch marks on the door. When the State House did its renovations, they preserved these scratch marks and put up a little plaque, and it says Gary. These scratch marks represent a summons to his beloved master, the Honorable Percival P. Baxter. Term of office 1921 to 1924. May these marks always remain in place to reflect the devotion between man and his best friend. So as someone who owns 2 dogs of my own, I can appreciate and love the fact that my office has these dog scratches from Governor Baxter's dog Gary when he would bring him to work. And it is pretty cool that they've preserved that. So that's something not everyone gets to see when they do a tour. I'm pleased to share this with you. And again, when you do get to come here at some point, you let them know you want to see the scratch marks, and we'll make sure to get you to see them firsthand.